I hope you're well and having the most incredible day. As always, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we're going to be diving in to my what I read in February. I read 9 books in February. I am so incredibly impressed with myself that so far this year I've done 9 books each month, which for some people that is not a lot. I see a lot of people on TikTok that read 9 books over a weekend, but for somebody that works 9 till 5:30, 5 days a week, I film on Saturdays, I don't have an awful lot of downtime just to sit and read, so I'm really impressed with myself. So anyway, without further ado, we are going to dive right in. I do just want to point out, if you hear any snoring or anything of that nature, I have got Thor here. He's asleep. He is the cutest thing in the world. Just love him so much. But he's joining me today, so if you hear any snoring or he moves around, I have Thor. But anyway, without further ado, we are going to dive right in. I hope you guys enjoy and carry on watching. So the first book I read in February was Credence by Penelope Douglas. Now, okay, big sigh. I have a lot of feelings about this book. I feel like if you've read this book, you will know exactly what I mean. Essentially what this is about a girl called, I think her name's pronounced Tiernan, I could be completely wrong, and both her parents pass away, and she has to go and live with her step uncle. Underline and bold the word step, just FYI. She goes to live with her step uncle and step cousins, okay, because in the kind of will of her father, I think it is, he kind of like leaves him in charge of her, essentially. She's 17, so she legally does need to have like a guardian of sorts, but only for a few months. Anyway, it's in the middle of nowhere, up in a mountain, so about 6 months out of the year they can't go back down the mountain, so they are very confined to that space. What is the plot of this story? This is very, how can I put it into words without giving away any spoilers? The spice in this is like, it's up there, but it's also really inappropriate. I don't know, it's odd. It's essentially the word step being very key. So there's 3 men and herself in this house, and let's just say she just goes around the house, sometimes more than one at a time. There's a lot going on. Anyway, let me read you my points because I feel like it's the hardest thing to try and explain it without giving it away. In this book I put that I love the ending, which I did actually. The ending was really good. It was kind of really nicely concluded. I thought it was really well written. However, the fact that she, spoiler alert, was sleeping with everybody, like, not really necessary. I feel like if she had connected with one person in particular, I mean, they are still sort of related, but not, it would have been a much better story, but like, she just full on like goes around. It's a little bit intense. However, I did actually quite enjoy it. I gave this one a 4-star. The actual story was really good. There were just some bits which were a bit odd. That's all I'm going to say about it. Also, I actually did really like the fact that they referenced 2 Green Day songs in this book, which I think might have been an accident, but love that. So anyway, I gave this one 4 stars. I think that is quite generous, seeing as the actual, it's just filth, let's be honest. The second book I read in February was As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. I am so incredibly proud of myself that I finally managed to read this book. I set myself a goal at the beginning of 2023 to basically finish all of the series that I have currently started, because there are about 4 or 5 of them that I've started and not finished. So I really want to finish a lot of series this year, ACOTAR being one of them, and that is a massive series. The page count is insane. So I thought, you know what, let's start January off strong. Let's dive in to the 3rd book of the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and I really enjoyed this book. You guys know how I feel about the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and the Good Girls Bad Blood books. I absolutely loved them. This was no shock. I absolutely loved this one as well. The one thing I would say about this book is it is incredibly long. I loved the kind of, it made sense, this book, like But essentially what it's about is Pip has a stalker, and she finds out that there is a connection between her stalker and the guy who is like a serial killer from years ago, and kind of stopped a few years ago, and it's just so good. It makes the whole series make sense, and I love that. So yeah, I think I gave this one 5 stars. Yes, I did. So good. I would really recommend it. Loved it a lot. And I can't really tell you much about it without giving away any of the kind of plot twists or shocking parts of this book, because it was just, yeah, it was really good. And I read the whole thing without cracking the spine. Very impressed with myself. So yeah, that is the final one of the trilogy, and I absolutely loved it. So 5 stars for that one. The next book I read was Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is kind of like a novella, a not necessary addition to the trilogy. It's more of just like a little add-on situation. However, this is actually a bit of a weird one because it's set before the first book, so you could read this first. However, it makes a lot more sense to read it at the end, because some of the things in this book kind of make more sense once you've read the books. Does that make sense? It was good. It was an easy read. I gave it 3 out of 5 because it wasn't necessary. I didn't absolutely love it. It's essentially based at a party. It's like a murder mystery, kind of like basically a game of Cluedo. But yeah, it is really good. I just didn't love it. It wasn't really necessary, but I did enjoy it, if that makes sense. So I gave this one a 3 out of 5. There is not much else to say about it. But yeah, that is that. I am glad to be done with that universe now, although I am going to miss it because I absolutely loved it. But I'm really happy that I finished it. So that is Killjoy by Holly Jackson. Next up, moving on to my book club pick of the month. So if you guys didn't know, me and my friend Kelsey, or Lola here on YouTube, have our own book club this year, and this was her pick for February, and that is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I am not going to lie to you, I had only read one Taylor Jenkins Reid book altogether, which was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Loved the writing style, but I was a little bit nervous about this because I didn't know how she would write a romance, if that makes sense. However, absolutely devoured this. I loved it so much. Let me see what I gave it because I can't remember. 5 stars, not really a shock. Essentially what this is about a girl called Emma, whose husband Jess goes in a helicopter, and the helicopter goes missing and essentially is presumed to be dead. So a few years later, she's actually engaged again, and while at a restaurant she receives a phone call from Jess, who essentially she thought was dead. And this book was actually really difficult because I loved both characters, as in both of the male characters, a lot, and it was really hard for me to decide who I wanted her to end up with, whether that be Jess from before or whether that be Sam, who was the kind of, he'd always had a crush on her from school, and he was like the really nice friendly one. So it was really hard to decide who I loved the most, but it was kind of obvious about halfway through who I really kind of wanted her to go for, and I was just really happy with the whole book. It was so good, it was so well written, and it was just, yeah, I absolutely loved it. The only notes I wrote on this book was, wow, such a beautiful story, loved it, perfection. 5 stars. So yeah, I don't really want to say much more about it because I don't want to give it away, but this one was really good. If you have read this, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. If you're sort of following along with our book club, I'd love to know. And also don't forget to check out Kelsey's review as well, because I always get excited to see her review. So yeah, that was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, love that. The next book I read was The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. Now, I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate about this. I essentially picked up this book because it was in the buy one get one, was it buy 2 for £10, 2 for £12 offer in WH Smith's. I can't remember what it was, but I picked it up because I was buying a book anyway, and I think I had to spend like £3 more and get another book, so I picked this one up, and I hated this book. I thought it was absolute trash, I'm not gonna lie. So the notes I put in, which are actually quite funny to read now, I put 14-year-old me would have loved this. And then I put, have I read this before? Because I think I'd read this at school. Because some of the bits in this book, I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to ruin it, I feel like I knew was coming, like I could tell that was the situation. So I think I've read this before, but anyway, not really sure. Also, I'm not trying to be picky, but she stuck her tongue out 18 times too many. Because if you had a crush on somebody, why would you just stick your tongue out? It was just so, I don't know, I was literally reading it as if she was like 11 the whole time. Like, it was just not great, I'm not gonna lie. I also put, personally wanted more content as to why she loved Conrad so much. I liked the ending, but weird because she was only 16 sneaking out with a boy. So yeah, spoiler alert. I gave this one a 2-star. Now, I think that seems quite harsh. However, I just don't understand the hype of this book. I love a romance. I love like a teen romance book or like a young adult romance, but this is like 13-year-old me romance. Like, it was just so childish and really not good. Like, I just really didn't like it. I liked the relationship that she had with what is her name? Susanna? Yes, Susanna. I really liked their relationship because she was like a second mum almost. But the actual story, the love interests, the personality of the main character was just dull. So yeah, I feel really harsh saying that, but it was really not my favourite whatsoever. I did not enjoy it, and we're going to move on because I just feel bad hating it. So next up. So the next book I read was The Midnight Game by Cynthia Murphy. You guys know how much I love her books. They are the most plot twisting, kind of mystery, murdery books ever, and they are so good. They are definitely not horrific. Like, I think they're definitely more on the young adult sort of side of stuff. They're not that bad, but this one was really good. This one is essentially about a game called The Midnight Game. It's kind of similar to, you know, the games like Slender Man and that sort of thing. Like, it's kind of internet based games, if that makes sense, and it's about a group of people who essentially don't know each other. They meet online and they go to a old school to kind of go through the Midnight Game, and it is really good. I'm not going to say anything else because the twists and turns are what keeps this book so entertaining and so gripping, and I absolutely loved it. I also love the fact that my copy is a signed copy, which makes me feel really just happy, and I absolutely loved it. I also really loved Last One to Die and Win, Lose, Kill, Die. Win, Lose, Kill, Die is one of my favourite books ever, so if you haven't read it, make sure you do. But yeah, I really loved this. 5-star read for me. It was just incredible. If you haven't read any of her books, I really recommend it, especially if you like that kind of mystery, murdery kind of vibe. It's just so good, and just I can't explain to you the plot twists in these books. It's just insane. I will say that Win, Lose, Kill, Die was my favourite. I did not see it coming whatsoever, and I have actually read some of the kind of 1-star reviews on Goodreads because I just find it hilarious and I think it's so funny, and a lot of people said they saw it coming, but I'm just like, at what point? Because I just didn't. But yeah, this was amazing. 5 stars. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it already. So good. So the next book is Dream On by Angie Hockman. Now, this book is really good. I gave it a 4-star. Essentially what this is about is a girl called Cass who is in a car accident, and she's in a coma for, I believe, about 6 days or so. And while she's in that coma, she's having vivid dreams of a guy who she is adamant is her boyfriend. His name is Devon. You know, they've had a 3-month or so relationship, and she is adamant that they are together. However, when she wakes up, all her friends have no recollection of this person. There's no phone contact, nothing. And essentially you kind of see where this is going. She goes into a flower shop and he is in there working. Same guy, same first name, and she is greeted with his brother. His brother is definitely interested in Cass, especially when they first meet. They kind of have that, he's definitely going to ask her out kind of vibes. This is sort of in the first like 10 or 15 pages, by the way, so it's not a spoiler, but anyway, she faints because she's so shocked that she's seen Devon, and essentially she speaks to him about the whole situation, and they kind of come together to plan out if they can seek how they knew each other and how they kind of have a relationship without having a relationship. It was a really lovely read. The only thing about this book I didn't like is there was literally no spice whatsoever, and I love a bit of spice, like I just love it. So that was the only thing letting this book down for me, but it was a 4-star. I really loved it, and I picked this up on a whim from the works for I think £3 or something. It might have even been less than that, but I basically picked it up because the cover is the cutest thing in the world, and I did enjoy it, and the flop is just unreal. Like, reading this was so comfortable, so I loved it. So yeah, 4 stars. Really enjoyed that one. The next book I read, I actually read in one day, which I haven't done in months because I don't have the time to sit and read for a whole day as much as I would love that. So I think it was a Sunday. I had no plans all day, so I picked up this book and I just read the whole thing, and that is Scandalized by Ivy Owens. Again, this is one of those books that I picked up from the works on a whim, and I just thought it looked really good, so I didn't even read the back. I just loved the cover, so I bought it, and I had it with me at the flat, so I thought, right, I'll read it. Flop factor, negative, like a million. It's just not very good at all, but I really loved this book, so I gave this one a 5 stars. The spice in this book was absolutely phenomenal. Like, you wouldn't think it from the cover, but it is so good. The only thing about this that I don't particularly like, and I don't think I really like it in general, is the whole insta love kind of vibe. So what this book is about, it's about a girl called Georgina who bumps into her friend's older brother at a hotel because both of their flights had been cancelled, so they wanted to stay there for the night. He has a room, she doesn't manage to get one, so you can see where this is going. They have some drinks, they go upstairs, etc, etc, and the next day they both got on the flight home, and they're kind of thinking, right, let's just move on with our lives. Turns out the friend's older brother is an incredibly famous actor, and Georgina had no idea. So that happened, and it is kind of like an insta love sort of situation. It's really hard to explain the rest without giving it away, so I'm not really going to bother, but it is so good. It was really spicy. The whole kind of... It was just a really easy read. It had, I think, 300 pages. It was definitely a quick one to go through, and I really, really enjoyed it. And the fact I read it in a day, I just felt so proud of myself. So yeah, I really loved this. Definitely pick it up from the works. I think it was in the £3, £4, £6 section as well. So £2.50 or £2 if you get it in the £3 for £6 bit. But yeah, it was so good, so I really love that. If you haven't read it, definitely do. It was a really good one. And the last book I read in February was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Now, I got this one actually from Aldi for £2.99. Absolute bargain. I had this in my Amazon wishlist ages ago, and then I did actually take it out of my wishlist, and I can't remember why I did that, but I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 3 star, so I don't know why I said I really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed it. It was a good read. It was an easy read. It was just not my favourite. Essentially, this is about a girl called, what is your name? Percy. It's Persephone, but they call her Percy, and she meets 2 boys next door when she goes to their like holiday home, and they kind of go there every year, and they kind of build that relationship and friendship, that kind of thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but essentially it's like a back and forth in time situation. You kind of go back to times at the lake and then into the future when she's like older, I think 30 or something like that, and I really did enjoy this book. The only thing I didn't really like is Charlie, one of the boys next door's kind of like sly comments towards her, especially when she was like underage. I don't know, it was just a bit weird. I mean, he wasn't like much older, I think he was 2 years older, but it was just a bit strange. But other than that, I thought it was good. It was a 3-star read. I probably wouldn't rush to pick it up again, but if anybody wanted like a one-day read or something really, really easy to get through, I would recommend it. It was good. I just don't feel... I don't know, I didn't feel in love with the characters in this book. I just liked it. There wasn't really any spice in it. Well, there was a little bit, but it was definitely mild, like a tikka masala kind of spice, you know. So yeah, it was good. I just didn't love it, so it was a 3-star read for me. So that is everything for my what I read in February. I read 9 books. I'm so impressed with myself. So if you haven't already, please let me know down below what you guys have read over the month of Feb. And yeah, that is everything. I'm gonna go. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. I would love to hit 11,000 subscribers this year, so if you haven't done so, I would appreciate it. And yeah, that is everything. I love you guys so, so much, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.